Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new Attack of Opportunity. I am releasing this, we're pre-recording it, but I am releasing this right on the cusp of our 3-year podcasting anniversary, where we started our Star Wars podcast, We Shot First, and we got into doing the Attack of Opportunity show, where we started off interviewing ourselves, behind-the-scenes look, and we quickly branched out to the content creators. And one of the very first people that I latched onto that I found that were doing something very interesting and very different was taking the Dragon Age RPG and turning that into a podcast under the Fateful Fumble brand. And now these guys have several shows going with several GMs, a cast of plenty. If you're a fan of the old episodes of this show, you'll see a familiar face here. We have Rin back, and we've finally dragged forth the GM of 2 of those. I think we woke him up. The GM of 2 of those shows. Rick Baggins is in the house tonight. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you for patiently waiting for us to set up.
No, it's fine. We've gone through worse. So the reason I've asked for a call back, not just to touch on some of the new things you guys have got going on and in the future, is because you guys, among a select few like Michael Kasevin and such, were some of the very first content creators outside of my own circle that I reached out to as a stranger and just said, hey, I love your stuff. I think you really got something different here that's going to endure. Do you want to be on the show? And as usual, instead of the usual, I'm sorry, who are you? Let's look at your numbers, right out of the pop. You guys were like, sure, yeah, okay, yeah, what do we got to do, kind of thing. And we still message each other when I have, the dark times of GMing and stuff. I reach out. These are some of the people that I reach out that, that mentor me with their experiences and stuff. And it's just a delight to have you guys back. And some people like Rick for the first time. So jumping right in, let's pick on Rick for a little bit here, since he's new to the show. Rick, how did you first know you were a geek, a nerd? One of us. Tell us your story, the backstory of Mr. Baggins.
Oh dear Lord. Are we talking about like the RPG element? Or
I'm talking about with something grab you where there's sci-fi, there's fantasy, that kind of thing, and you just kind of embraced it,
Well, I was a lucky 80s child, so we obviously had like some of the best cartoons in England, supplied obviously by America.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking like Transformers, Centurions. Never got the Power Rangers thing, but I think they're not to sound like a trophy or anything, but
no.
My dad showed me Lord of the Rings, and it took me a good 2 or 3 years to actually get around to fully appreciating it because of all the big words. Yeah, D&D didn't actually happen until Crit Roll for me, to be honest. Everyone was arguing about 3.5 this and Pathfinder that, so I wasn't interested at the time. But when you get started off with an RPG, it's usually because someone else shows you it, and that was basically Shadowrun, which required a mathematics degree to understand. Which I didn't. Fake it till you make it and all that. Not soon after moving over to Norway, it kind of exploded. I mean, they have a huge following over here for all types of RPGs. And nobody wanted to be GM, so you know how that feels.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Always a player, always a GM, never a bride, that kind of thing. Yeah, no, I feel you. But I do get to play soon. Actually, we've got Rob Hammond who's going to do Starfinder for us, and I'll get to play in that. So I guess I beat you to it.
I got to ask though, how many times have you been told this? Then it's like, oh, we can't do it this week, Jeff. Sorry, we have to wash our hair. Maybe next week. And it's been, how long have they been? Has he been doing that to you?
There's for some of the things we're doing, it's getting pushed back just because of prep. For other things, it's just like a family thing comes up and we're short a player and we're like, this guy's like the lead on this one show we're going to shoot tonight. What do we do? And we try to do a bottle episode or, it can happen. I guess we have the advantage of the fact that we are already online. We are not 5 mics around one kitchen table. We are actually using a Zoom chat, and everyone, even the two guys are in the same town as me, they're just, they come home from work, they barely eat, and they're online, and we're doing it this way. And it's a little easier to commit, I guess, if you're sitting there in your jammies and the wife doesn't mind that you didn't go out, you're just at the end of the couch or in the office, you know, that kind of thing. So I would have to say my attendance record is probably higher than some people that don't want to come home from work or like make the drive on a Sunday to their gaming group. So I've been lucky that way. But enough about me. He's doing that thing to me. Turns it around. I see. I'm on to you, Mr. Wagons. Well, since we're talking about location, where does the magic happen? You know, where are you guys located? Where do you know, what country you're in? I don't need a street address, but like, you know, where's the magic happen? Where do you guys record your shows?
Well, you know, from the very start, we actually started on online like yourself, but it's expensive to get the right equipment. So we felt, since we lived close enough, we just started doing the whole one mic, 5 people, which obviously had its inherent problems. We tried different locations. One of, I think it was, Sonova has a dog called Barkspawn. Well, actually, it's called Warfire, which means granddad. That has a lot of jokes behind it. So granddad took granddad for a walk. Granddad had a poop in the living room, that kind of thing. But after trying like different places out, we ended up using our home in a place called Trosterud, which is just east of Oslo in Norway. We actually have a rather large table, some nice chairs, and thanks to a combination of Anita and Rin over there, we have actually built up over time some pretty decent recording equipment. It takes time, and it's not always a Patreon or a Kickstarter to do. You just have to decide what's worth it, and we did. We've got a lot of good, decent cameras, and we're still having fun.
Yeah, I love your live stream. You guys are very organic, and even like when you have a break, the cameras roll, the snacks come out, and then you guys just chat with the actual chat log. I've snuck in there a couple times myself, and they're like, "Oh, there he is! You know, there's the guy," that kind of thing. Am I detecting now? You guys are been living in Norway for some time, but am I detecting a bit of a British accent between the sniffles there, sir? Sorry to catch you.
Oh
when you're
yeah,
feeling
sorry
your
about
best.
that. I just decided to start getting sniffly, didn't I? Yeah, I'm from the northwest of England, about 20 minutes outside of Liverpool, and I obviously met my now partner, married, Bryn, over there in England. And I thought they were English, they're Norwegian. So, you know, obviously you can't trust anyone.
It's not Corona. It's fine. It's fine.
So Rin, you would you like fake a British accent to hook this guy, and then just like, oh, by the way, the family is this way. We're off we go. Hope you can ski. You know, like,
you know, you're not half wrong. Actually, it was there was a moment on Skype actually when her mum called, and then suddenly it was the Swedish chef, and I'm just sitting there in the dark going, what is this? What is this madness? And of course, you know, what's that language? Norwegian? What does that mean? Oh, I'm from Norway. Where the hell is that? English.
He already knew.
Yeah, it's right there. Come on, it's like right there.
Yeah.
You could swim.
He already knew.
I mean,
he just thinks that this is the better story. So
yeah, no, that's good. That's good. See, this is why Rin asked to be in the interview, so that he would get it, you know, the accurate, because we GMs tend to embellish a little bit on some of the facts to make the story more interesting. And now I see
feeling slightly called out here, guys.
I was doing an acting degree. I was doing an acting degree in England, and we met. And when you do acting, you tend to do a lot of accent work. So, and when you do acting degree in England, you tend to have to do a lot of British. So, yeah. When I moved to England, I had a very, very posh accent. And then I moved to Liverpool, and it got really, really northern.
Oh,
you're not going to blame me for that.
No, I blame the Scousers.
I love it because in role playing, when they do their character, people will change their voice. So like, okay, I'm Bob the Paladin or something, and sometimes they'll play around with accents. Now myself, to my shame, my mother is British, born and raised in North London, came over on the boat to Canada when she was about 9. And so I have this half a British heritage and family and a little bit of Scott on my dad's side, and I can't do a British accent. Like, I'm surrounded by these people at family gatherings, and I can't fake one to save my life. But we get into casting, we get into role playing, and we have guys doing a Brooklyn accent from the States, another guy doing a Russian accent, just to try and make their characters seem more, I wouldn't say stereotypical in a bad way, but a little bit more larger than life. So that, you know, this is the character talking, this is me, the player talking, that kind of thing.
That's a good shortcut.
Yeah. Good.
I do that myself when I play Than. I put on an American accent, a very general kind of American accent. And then when I'm not playing and just talking as a character, I go back to British.
There's a great
character to remember.
There's a great video put up by Guy Scalanders, How to Be a Great GM, and he talks of a very interesting way about how to do an accent. And he doesn't just do an impression. He says, well, think about it. Americans, they're very chewy. I want you to pretend that you're chewing on something. It's like, oh my God, that is so true. You know, and it just,
that with me, actually,
it gives you something like that. And it's a brilliant video, brilliant way of thinking. But it's like, you can't take offense to this stuff. You know, it's just, you're just all in fun and that kind of thing. So you're in Norway and you're in your little corner of the world there, and I see you guys posting the cosplay and stuff that Sunava, Anita, and Tanya are into, and when you guys do the big show, and there's a layout, like almost like a professional layout that you guys keep coming back to. I was showing it off in the last interview. If you guys want to see it, you got to dial back to the other Fateful Fumble interview in Attack of Opportunities gone by, and it's brilliant. And then there's this bit where we went so far where you see Sunava with the short red hair as an elf, and we see Rick, and Rick is dressed up like a bride, and they're doing some kind of like, and no one will tell me the story that I can remember. I'm sure Anita told me, but
it's funny you should mention that, actually, because I actually have the wedding certificate here somewhere. I've just been going through my D&D shelves. It's a gimmick that they have at Toricon, which is an amazing convention down in Trondheim.
In Trondheim.
It's an expression. Oh my God. But yeah, it's basically they have a ship, the half of a ship, just sitting there. And the idea is that you just put on the top hat, the bridal thing, and you have two sets, obviously, for all manner of pairings. And you get your cosplay characters married. And since we were playing characters from our from our live stream, I can't remember whose idea it was.
I think it was Sunava.
Sounds like a Sunava thing, yeah. So yeah, that's now a tradition for us. We always end up shipping someone when we get there. Which, spoiler warning, may have caused a few people to be annoyed with me because one of the characters may have turned out to be evil.
Oh.
Not giving too much away. I've said too much. But yeah, I was the wife.
Okay.
I mean, he is a very good cook, so.
No, like I thought maybe it was I thought maybe it was a gag that you guys come up on, but like you said, if that was a thing that the convention offered, that's brilliant. No, that's I gotta say I love it. That's freaking hilarious. I'm just trying to bring up something here.
I wonder what you were doing. You had that kind of look of, is this a stroke? Or
I'm
what's going
sorry.
on here?
Honestly, I'm cheating. I've got it on speaker view, so if you're talking, they can't see me, and I'm also running the tech. And I'm literally online trying to get some other images up because like I said, we were about to shoot.
You're trying to find it.
And no, well, maybe. Oh, you know what I did find, actually? A picture of our last interview. But for some reason,
good.
For some reason, this won't let me project it. But that's fine. The show must go on. On to the next question. Oh, here we go. See, now here's a lovely shot of, I guess this is a year ago. You guys were saying, a lovely shot of a year ago where I'm just slightly different logo, and we've got Ollie in the top, who also DMs Chicago by Night, and that's Vampire Masquerade, or which one is that? Sorry.
It's
Vampire
the Vampire the Masquerade,
Right.
not the current edition, but the one prior to it, the special edition, I think.
Okay.
We've moved up to the newest one, which is amazing, by the way.
A great shot of
But
Rin.
the podcasts are still lagging quite a lot behind, so we're not there yet.
Great shot of Rin smiling and nodding to one side, and Anita just completely lit up at something somebody said. Ollie looks confused. Maybe maybe it's not. Here we go. We'll just put this off in a corner and reminisce. But no, here we are in a brand new interview. Pushing forward at a terrible pace.
Consistent.
Yeah. I guess the next question for you, Rick, or both of you, is like, how long have you guys been actually creating this great content? Like, how many years has it been?
Is that 3? Is it 3 now?
Yeah, I think so.
Give or
Yeah.
take. I had teething problems there for 6 months where yours truly decided he was going to try and do 3 separate casts and with 3 separate groups. That kind of, obviously a bit off more than I could chew there, and that fell apart, but we just continued with the ones that were having the most fun and had the best chemistry.
You talked about playing. I just brought up a black and white shot of the vampire cast from Chicago by Night. Are you in that show as a player?
Yes.
And who do you play?
Can you guess? Are you familiar with Vampire the Masquerade by any chance?
I know of it. I've never played it. I picked up the book and the 10-sided dice 100 times. Like, I've heard a lot about it, but I've never got the chance to play. I think it's a very neat concept. There was a spin-off game that kind of buried and didn't make it that I played once, where you could be of the nocturnal persuasion, I guess you could say.
It's the most fun in the game to be. But when you're a GM most of the time and you want to be a player, and you get the chance, and you say to yourself, "I'm going to enjoy this. I am not going to put this other GM through the torture that I do out of a spiteful, bitter need for revenge on some other poor soul." And then obviously you go in with a good intention, and then it fails miserably, and you're a pain in the ass. That's basically what happened with me. You don't have to nod, Rin. I played a Malkavian who is an insane vampire, who was essentially an operative ex-military in Syria, who ends up losing his team and getting heavily injured and then waking up in a hospital bed in Chicago. A vampire, and doesn't understand anything at all, because he can now basically hear the voices of everybody who he's ever killed. And as it goes on, it kind of gets a bit more interesting, as in questions start getting asked. Was it him who returned from Syria, or was it someone else? A lot of an identity issue there, which played out beautifully. In fact, Ola had this wonderful way where I would say something really, or do something really silly, like in a car, I would just have my character pull his pants down for no reason whatsoever, and then the car would crash, and that action actually stopped me from taking any injuries, because of, I forget the details, but what it means is that whenever I do something stupid with my character, he would find a way to make it so that it actually worked out, and it wasn't insane. It was insane and also almost prophetic, and that was amazing. I was challenged him with the most ridiculous things, and he would always come through with some reason why.
That's great. Like, to his credit, right? I mean, that's awesome.
Sure.
And I got another shot up here. I got a great artwork of the Kestrels, and I recognize some of the characters. I see Anita's character in the center. I see Sonova's character, with her arm around her, and the other shot, big guy in green, and I think that's Ollie's character, or yours.
I can't tell. What is because there's a few pieces of artwork. I don't know which one it is.
You've got a great shot of Anita's character in the middle, and she's holding the staff, and she's kind of going, got her arm around Sonova's character, and the little rogue is, all cartoon, brilliant art, like really good looking stuff.
That's Valeth, Ness, and Firil. Yeah.
So the original 3,
yes.
basically.
Oh, okay.
Which we started off with. There's about the same time actually this was made. We had the other 2 groups, which you got the same kind of artwork for. Guys, you're interested in getting your group's characters drawn up, go commission someone. There are some amazing artists out there who will not let you down, and it's worth every single dollar or local currency.
I'm surprised you're not plugging Anita. I saw her artwork recently, and it's just astoundingly good.
I don't need to plug her. I already bought a commission from her, and I'm very happy with it.
Oh, you try to spread the
Got
love
my
around.
D&D character.
Yeah.
Huh?
No. I just I asked as well if she would do a commission for us or whatever. Not that anyone has any money these days, but it's always good to know that they might they might give you the time, if not the. But no, there's some good stuff online. If you guys Google Fateful Fumble and just look at the images, there's just an entire world that you guys have created. Several shows just becomes eye candy. So I love typing in a podcast and then from video clicking over to images, and everything to do with that show just jumps up at you, and you really get a solid taste, I think, of what you might be in for. And fan art and pictures and the chemistry really is solid with this group. So I guess we got to skip over the conventions and gatherings and where people. Let's talk about social media with you guys. I noticed that you guys have got your Twitter handles up, like myself, in the little corner here. We got.
Oh, mine's. I don't have Twitter for myself. I don't think I do. I can't remember. This is my Instagram handle.
Oh, okay. So, Rick.
It would be my Twitter handle if I had one.
Rick with a K _ Baggins, and I got my own. And we have Rin Beastie at Rin Beastie. Yep. It's awesome. But what other social media, like whereabouts are you guys? Where's the podcast up? And do you guys have like your own website for the artwork and some of these great shots? You guys have like a Fateful Fumble page somewhere people could check this stuff up.
We have a fan group on Facebook where people can share their fan art and discuss stuff and share screenshots from the last stream and all of that stuff. That's usually where most of the fan art ends up, and then we try to share stuff also on our Instagram account, which is also Fateful Fumble. We have the website, which is fatefulfumble.com. Where you can find basically all the information about where you can find the podcasts and the live stream, the address to our Twitch channel where we do our live streams now, the YouTube channel where all of our previous live streams are uploaded after we've streamed them, and pretty much all the different social media sites and everywhere that you can find basically anything that has to do with Fateful Fumble. So that's fatefulfumble.com. And
we got a Facebook page.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page. We have Instagram, we have a Twitter. And I think that's it for now, because someone needs to run these profiles as well. So we try not to bite over too much more right now.
Anita's the workhorse when it comes to all of our social media. She is amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that she's been in charge of virtually all of the social media outlets, and on top of that, she does with sort of the podcasting post editing, which is pretty good. Thankfully, Rin's taken over a lot of the tech responsibilities, so that other people don't have to carry that weight.
Yeah, I set up studio and I set up tech and sort that out. So,
we also have Tonya started to recently play around with things like Minecraft, and a group of the super friends there have made things like Equine House for the TV series.
That's true. And we have a Discord.
We do. We do have a Discord.
Well, definitely have to get you all these links. You'll have to send them to me, and then I will drop them in the bio of this episode and the rest, so that people can find you, check it out. I have seen the girls playing, like streaming video games online. I forget what they were actually playing, but I remember I came across them, and they were using the channel. I thought, oh, that's really cool. We tried something different, like I said, for Rob Starfinder, just to build chemistry, because we've brought new cast members that have never played, and we're introducing some people on. We're like, let's play an MMO together. and just hash out some voices and back and forth. Though, so we're playing Dungeons and Dragons online, even though we're supposed to be playing something sci-fi. We're playing like old school D&D together, and we've got 2 episodes up on our YouTube of us just talking and playing our characters, and everything's shot from my guy's perspective. So it's like I'm the cameraman trying to chase them through a dungeon, and they're all like, "Ooh, look at this over here," and we're doing this. I'm like, "Guys, stay together. I can't keep you," type of thing. And they're learning to communicate. It's just adorable. Because we've brought my wife on, Cheryl, as an auxiliary cast member this year. I think she just, finally realized that I'm not giving this up, and has gotten a little bit more comfortable with them. Like, oh, she loves gaming. Like we game together all the time, but as far as like doing it publicly or, with the guys, that kind of thing, that was a whole other hurdle to get her through or whatever. But she's done cameos in the shows. She played a magic sword in the prologue series of our Dice for Dishonor. She played an auxiliary cavalier that showed up protecting an NPC in the same series again. We tried. We had a fan turned intern, turned GM, and we gave him a show slot to help promote a gaming store he wants to open. Jarrett Mercer, no relation to Mr. Mercer, but we like to bug him about it. That's how we end up being called. Well, it's like, well, if you're not Mercer and we can't use your name, well, like, you're our intern. That's, type of thing. So we accepted that. And we gave him a show called Simply Second Edition. And I hadn't gamed in so long. And I was running tech. So I'm like, oh, there's all these new things I want to try. Bad idea. When you're giving a new GM a show, you don't dick around with sound effects. And, oh, yeah, thanks, honey. I'll have a drink. Glug, glug, glug. It just got bad really quick. And the poor guy did such a great job of trying to introduce his homebrew world for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And we ruined it on him. But it is a fun, and so we've got sort of another show for him pending if he ever wants to come back to us. You were talking,
I feel you, buddy.
you were talking about rotating cast members and trying different shows and everything, and the network isn't supposed to be the Jeff show, even though I'm jamming quite a lot of them. I'm so happy that we got, like, Rob Ham's going to be a Starfinder guy. We've got Philip Trout, who we're grooming to actually take the Pure Steam splat book for Pathfinder, like a steampunk thing, and convert this sort of Ravenloft Gothic horror Castlevania kind of adventure path called Carrion Crown, and he's going to convert it to the Pure Steam book and run us through that. And it's like, what a great idea, but it's like, there's so much you have to do. We have to teach him Fantasy Grounds. We got to get him used to being in front of a camera and a microphone. We got to teach him to carry a show. And now I'm teaching, like you said, you're spreading the burden. You were talking about how Run does tech and everything, right? After 3 years, I did everything. I edited, I teched it. These guys don't know how to do anything. They don't have the time. So now I've got Rob and these guys learning, look, I'll be over here doing this. You need to learn this, and, that type of thing. And it's so cute watching them. Like, they're like mirrors of my year one. They're like, this is not where it's like, it's okay. You got this. You do this.
It's a problem in any business environment, though, isn't it? I mean, when you're at work and you're the only guy who can do pretty much all the things. Then what happens when you're sick?
Yeah.
There's a term for it. I forget what it is. Something like redundancies or something.
Micromanagement.
I'm glad that you're training them up, though.
Well, they got to be interested. And like I said, my cast are great. They got great chemistry, but they've had such busy lives. Is all they could do was show up and play. They just don't have the time for editing or any of that kind of thing. Like, I was lucky just to get them in front of a mic consistently and just play their characters for me. So I was happy with that, But now you talk about a business. This past year, I started a business called Dicewise Entertainment so that it can be in debt instead of me. And I can't wait for tax time, which is now, to see if there's any kind of write-offs. But I'm just kind of holding off. So my next question for you is, you have the Fateful Fumble brand, and I saw your hoodies and everything you got going. That looks really good. Like, did you guys actually have like a registered business that you can sort of use,
No, this is all us. The leap from going from what we're doing right now to a business, it's not one that's on the cards right now because, well, you gotta be ready, as you probably well know better than we do. But we always agreed that as long as we're having fun, then we're happy to keep doing it. We even had an instance where some of us were considering things like, okay, for our next arc, what system do we want to use? What do people want? And then it got to a point where we thought, hang on a second, we're doing this for ourselves first and foremost. So how about we just keep doing what we want and see what happens? Yeah. And that's why we've been continuing with Dragon Age of all games. for so bloody long.
No, that's good. I was very surprised to get feedback after a couple of years where the fans were saying, we like this old show. And we're like, why? It's like, you guys are relaxed. You're so genuine in this show. This other stuff that's current now, you guys are like taking it so seriously. You're trying to learn a brand new rule set, and there isn't arguing, but you know what I mean? Like, and this is why we've kept our Star Wars show. It was our first one that actually successfully launched. And despite that we're playing a dead system because it's not the new FFG Star Wars, it's the Saga one that was broken. We just love it because the Dawn of Defiance campaign is like canon. They are literally running around doing Bail Organa's wet work 3 months after Order 66, before the rebellion, and that story will never die. It never tells them, like no matter how long it takes. I guess what I'm trying to say is, no matter how long you spend doing that show for yourselves, or even if you think it's old and not current and hip, people will appreciate that you guys are into it, and the chemistry that you feed off of it, and the fact that you've consistently, done it front to back and having a great time doing it. So no, don't ever give that up, guys. Never.
Besides, we know that there will most likely, hopefully, be a Dragon Age 4 at some point. And at least then we can say, well, we were out live streaming tabletop RPG Dragon Age first.
I love the faces you guys are making. There's so much, there's so much more you're not saying while you're just kind of making those statements to both of you.
This might be relevant to you as a huge. I recognize you as a huge Star Wars nerd. I don't know if you noticed, by the way, but I'm wearing a Star Wars t-shirt.
Of course.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But extended universe. Why did that happen?
I'm sorry. Why
did the extended universe for Star Wars happen? In your opinion? It's not a trick question.
Okay, well, I'm thinking because of the gap. I mean, they were given Lucas's vision of a space opera. He started it without doing the prequels, and people latched on to such a big universe that they just sort of couldn't wait, and everyone jumped at this phenomenon, and private writers and everything. Like, also, you got to remember, this came out like the 70s and early 80s, where, as you know, like, there just wasn't a lot around. So what few, people like, there's a bit with Eddie Murphy talking about sex versus being on a desert island. It's like, if you strand someone on a desert island, don't feed them for 3 weeks or 3 months, and then you bring them home, and the first thing you give them is a saltine cracker, they're going to be all over that cracker. They'll be like, oh, this cracker's delicious, that type of thing. Sci-fi and fantasy was not only rare, it was shunned in the 70s and 80s. So Star Wars, for some reason, was accepted. It wasn't shunned by the greater community, and nerds could like be into it. And I personally, to answer your question, I think a bunch of writers and stuff got on board, shook whatever tree they had to get rights, and then just went off in every direction they could with as much material as they could. That would be my guess. Yes?
The reason I bring it up is because I've been I only know the Norwegian word for this. Grueling? No, I've tortured myself for ages now. Because the timeline-wise, the Kestrels arc is getting to the point where the games end. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, there's no canon for this. What the hell comes next? And then eventually, after waiting for ages, watching all of the lead writers disappear and fall off the Dragon Age 4 project like limbs off a leper. But it comes to the point where I'm thinking to myself, who cares? Why don't we just do our thing, do our best, have fun with it? And if it turns out we get something wrong, then Star Wars Extended Universe, it's just our gameplay, it's our instance.
Yeah, your homebrew version of, you can actually brand that. I've seen people that are going, we're doing a homebrew version of Galorian. Now, Galorian is the Pathfinder world, but when they say it's homebrew, they say they're taking liberties. They're going in directions that maybe is not canon. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a call for that. There's especially fans that like maybe don't like some decisions that are world changing. You know what I mean? So like the Pathfinder system literally had a system change, which means there was a world change, right? They woke up an ancient evil that was part of lore that had been beaten down before the time when you were gaming in first edition. It woke up, shook up the world in a nasty way, and now the fallout is us getting back to gaming after this one adventure path, the Tyrant's Grasp, into and beyond into the second set. And it only happens like there's only a 2-year gap really, if that, between the it's not like 100 years in the future like they did with the difference between 3rd edition and 4th edition D&D and Forgotten Realms. It wasn't like 100 years went by or 80 years. It's like 2 years. And like I said, if they just cut you off and you just want to logically proceed politics and story in a way that you think it's going to go, or the way you want it to go to supplement your character's story, man, there is nothing wrong with that. I would completely support that. I bet
Right?
if you put that on Facebook, because my wife actually plays the video games, is a fan of video games, and she follows this like Dragon Age Facebook where they're constantly reposting scenes and shipping and doing all this stuff. If you put out a call on Facebook to these people about what you want to do, you would get slammed with ideas. They'd be doing the writing for you.
It's funny you should mention that. I actually dropped it down on what was it? I think it's one of the Dragon Age groups that I frequent. I actually got myself banned from one for the first post was being Logain was right, teehee, and then I got just hard banned. So I started behaving myself after that. But they were very responsive to the idea of not worrying too much about what's going to happen and just explore. I mean, they were already doing it. You know, you got like beautiful artwork for different ships that never happened.
Yeah.
Ironically, though, the next arc, which I've been pondering on, has nothing to do with Thetis, so that's really homebrewing it. That's kind of taking this beautiful world that was created and then just saying, "Wow!" Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I don't want to give too much away though, so
We're losing you. You're starting to break up, but it sounds like we could do another, half an hour easy. But this time around has been a taste. We've got to meet Rick, the dungeon master, the game master of the Kestrels, Fateful Fumble, and have a look into his mind's eye and desperate need for Kleenex. But thank you guys for taking the time in these dangerous times, despite if you're up for it or not, and being on the show today. It's been a great time having you. Thank you so much.
thanks for having
Thank you
us.
for having us.
Say goodnight, Rin.
Good night.
Say goodnight, Rick. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good night, Rick.
We'll see you next time on Attack of Opportunity.